And that's why, like, cats are terrified of cucumbers when you lay them down in front of them. It is scientifically proven. So it's crazy.
It is the weirdest thing in the world.
It
Cats and
is.
cucumbers.
Our cats are loving the new house.
Oh yeah,
Oh
whole
yeah.
new place to explore.
Oh, and they're going outside and they're getting to know the neighbors and things like that. Our neighbor actually, so our neighbor right across from us, I was outside taking the trash out. She's like, "Oh, I got to meet one of your cats today." And I said, "Oh yeah, yeah." I opened the door and he just ran right inside, and I was like, "I apologize for that." She says, "No, it's not fine." He hung out with me while I cooked in the kitchen and all sorts of stuff, and then I opened the door and he ran out. And I was like, "Well, they have cats too." And I said, "Well, just so you know," I said, "they are all fixed and all that goodness." So she says, "Oh yeah, that's good." So I was just like, I apologize that my cat ran into your house. I have the friendliest cats that I have ever seen in my entire life. And they are the loudest purrs. Like, we have to close our bedroom door because if they come into the room, they'll start purring. And I mean, it's like someone revving their car engine outside your door. So it's super annoying.
Oh, that's funny.
But Bella's really liking the single level house, so that's good. Hey, today is my friend anniversary with my brother-in-law on Facebook.
Your friend anniversary.
Friend anniversary. I need to log into Instagram on my phone. Also, we need to, like, I want to help with the Instagram reels and stuff like that. So maybe we need to. I have the purchased drive space. Maybe we need to upload some episodes there so I can edit and cut some reels for us
Okay.
as well, just so you're not having to be the only one doing it. That's what I was meaning by that, not like,
I
hey,
hear you.
you've been slacking as the social media
Good. I have been though.
department of our podcast. I don't know what department I'm in, but it's going well.
It is going well. Yes. Your whatever department you are in always goes well, right?
Yeah. I'm in the consistency department. And we are consistent.
We are every Tuesday. Rain or
Every
shine,
Tuesday.
right?
I've only missed one show. You haven't missed any shows. We had 1 week where we only had 1 week where we didn't, but we had a recorded show.
No, there was one. It was just you and Alan.
Oh, Alan, that's right. Yeah, something about some sort of an ice storm. Didn't have any power, whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was like, what was it? It's like
I was trying to think about what it was too.
it snowed in southeast Louisiana.
It was a cold day. So I did something manly.
What's that?
I installed a Nest thermostat, and it worked the first time.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of myself. So I got the whole like be able to control the temperature in the house from your phone deal.
I have some under the cabinet lights in the kitchen that we put in. You know, they're like timed LED tape lights, and so when the lights go off, you know it's time. It's bedtime. I think they go off like at 10:30 or something.
Lauren really wants those. I really want those. I think they'd be really cool. I just I don't know that I have an extra plug that I can dedicate to that.
Sacrifice. Yeah, I hear you. Hey, outlet space is of utmost importance.
That's the only complaint we have of our kitchen at this moment is we wish that the island had an outlet on it.
Yeah.
It'd have been perfect.
You can make it so.
Yeah, we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Behind the Beards. And here on Behind the Beards, we pull the curtain back, take a look behind the scenes, and do our best to reveal the things that you need to know about your ministers and your ministry leaders. I'm Joshua Fowler. I am a preaching minister in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And my main man, Aaron Partlow, is a youth minister in Longview, Texas. Aaron, have you hung your Lone Star flag outside of your house yet? That's a requirement for a Texan.
I have not. But I have gone to war with the fire ants. So
Oh yeah.
But I have one. So I have a really cool member here, Jeff Simpson, who he was like, this is the stuff. He works for a company that kind of really deals with that kind of stuff. And so he gave me the stuff to spray. So I sprayed the front yard. I haven't sprayed the back yet. I sprayed the front yard. And yeah, man, they're toast. History says it'll keep them away for a full year. It's like, oh man, a pest is if the stuff only keeps it away for like a year. So
yeah, I need the stuff for mosquitoes because that is, I mean, we definitely have a fire ant. Yeah, what was it?
Make a bat box. It's like a birdhouse, but it's for bats. And it is. They say if you put a bat box, if you make one, you put it up high in your tree, and you can get bats to live in it, it'll cut your mosquito population down tremendously.
Oh, I see. So you're actually attracting bats to...
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I was like, how's a bat box going to keep mosquitoes away? But, you're bringing bats in. I got you.
And then they eat the mosquitoes. Do they have bats in Louisiana? I don't know.
I would assume so. We have everything else known to man here in Louisiana.
Right. Get an alligator.
That's right.
And then you won't worry about the mosquitoes.
That's right. What's worked best for us for the mosquitoes is 2 summers ago, I had this little spider who was kind of hanging out on our patio.
That thing was massive, and I don't like it, and it gave me nightmares.
Yeah, it was really close to the door. It was there that summer you were there, huh?
Yes.
It's a garden spider, or a banana spider, had this weird
completely harmless
black and yellow abdomen. And it wove this huge web. And I thought about getting rid of it. And then I realized we have not had any mosquitoes out here. And so she...
it gives me heebie-jeebies to think about.
She laid a little nest pouch, but it was right on the back door. And I was like, I really don't think I want this nest of eggs hatching right inside my back door. So I moved it, and she laid 2 more up on the ceiling of our patio, and I tried to protect them to make sure they would hatch the next. They only live 1 season, so like 9 months. They build their web, they do their thing, and they on to spider heaven. But the egg sacs never hatched.
We on Behind the Beards do not support the theory of spider heaven. That was just a joke.
Thank you. These views do not reflect the views of Behind the Beards. No, but when I moved her, and I moved the box that she had built her web over the first time, there were probably 100 like bug and beetle carcasses that she had like caught, eaten, and like that was like, okay, this little chick is keeping our house bug free. And that
does more work than my kids do.
I know.
Around the house.
Now then, how do I get a garden spider to come live at my house again? Because I need another one. They were godsend. So
I don't know
how we got on bugs. Who knows?
I don't know. Terrible topic to talk about.
Terrible. No bugs. But hey, they serve a purpose, right? I'm still trying to figure out what purpose mosquitoes serve, besides to remind us
food. They're just food for I mean, like, what is like? I mean, I guess plankton does a lot more. It eats algae and all that kind of stuff, which lowers our CO2 for the environment. Well,
All right. Well,
Camp always has the biggest spiders. That's right, Jonathan.
okay.
Camp does.
Hey, and that's a pretty good segue, right?
It is, because today we're going to talk about this idea of where are you going? What's going on this summer? I was like, where going on this summer?
No, I couldn't see the title that you had typed up here when I went to put the banner in there. So
That's right. Oh, that's what it is. Because I read over here, where are you going this summer? And then I looked over here and it says, what's going on this summer?
yeah. So what's going on this summer? It's usually camp. It's usually retreats. It's usually soul quests and mission trips, and of course is making plans for the future right now is tenuous at best, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So how are you planning for the summer?
Well, it's also wild to think, like, so we've been in COVID for over a year. So we have a little experience under our belts, right? But it's crazy to think, like, this time last year, I was stressed and I was worried, like, what are we going to do this summer? Like, I don't know, like, what can I do? What's safe? All this kind of stuff. And now a year later, I'm like, okay, come on. We can do it. We can be safe and do it. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can social distance. We can wear masks inside. We can spread out. We can do everything we need to do. Like, let's get it done. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, and you have I don't know what it's like in Texas, but we have a good part of our folks here have been vaccinated.
East Texas, COVID does not exist.
We kind of crack this joke because we're in Livingston Parish, which is on the east side of Baton Rouge. And if you are in East Baton Rouge Parish, they are pretty particular, about, when you walk in, almost everybody inside is most of them properly, but some of them not. But if you go into a store in Livingston Parish and you start to put one on, the workers are like, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And it's like non-existent, and social distancing. Somebody in my neighborhood had, I think, 50 people over in their house the other day, and restaurants are almost back to full capacity. And so there's this huge gap between what transpires in one place and what transpires in another, and that gap exists in our people and our kids and our families as well.
Yeah.
And it's a real challenge, particularly in churches, to say, okay, how do we provide a space where everyone can come and feel like they belong and their presence is valued, and it's a challenge, especially when you're making plans and you don't even know what's going to be open and available, because we still have some places around here that aren't yet open to the public. So,
well, and it's also crazy. This jumps like to our last point that we were going to kind of talk about today. But like, what have we learned about ourselves as Christians? What have we learned about ourselves as churches and families and stuff in a post-COVID? Stop laughing at my chair. It's fine. He misses my other chair that didn't squeak or move.
Didn't creak. Yeah.
So what did we learn about ourselves? And I think, I don't know. It's hard for me to like say these words and to really talk about it, but like, there's a sense of integrity that I think has been kind of like revealed about the church. I definitely think like there's been this aspect of discipleship and faithful people. I think one of the biggest things, and this is not, hear me, people who listen or watch the show. This is not a slam on anybody, but I have definitely found that a lot of people don't know how to study their Bible themselves. They don't know how to talk to their children about Jesus or about the Bible. And a COVID world brought a lot of people to a place where they went, I don't know how to do it. It's kind of an aspect. I don't know what to do. And so it's how do we combat that in a healthy and good way? How do we, for me, it's like, how do I be like Paul and be very honest, but it's coming from a place of love, and to say, you have failed and we need to do better. You have not made this a priority, and we need to make this a priority, kind of an aspect. And so I've been chewing on that. I've been thinking about that.
Maybe some of that failure may be, come from both sides as well. Because on one end, as members, we have not been very good at making ourselves better at doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes as churches and as ministers, maybe we haven't done a very good job of training people to study.
I think we've taken the easy way out, is what I have been thinking about for myself. I was just having a conversation with somebody. I don't know, I'll cut you off, so I'll be quick. I just had a conversation with somebody that it is easier for me to sit here and just say, I will just do it all myself.
Right.
It is easier for me just to do it all myself. I have the skills. I can do it. I can just do it all myself. It's a lot easier. It is harder for me to include other people and trust them and train them and ask them to support and to help. But I think if you really think about what my job entails, if I'm truly a vitamin, if I'm truly a booster to what parents are doing, then really my focus of my job should be to support and help parents, and then offer extra, but it should really be to help parents and help others kind of be able to minister to their youth and to their teenagers. And so the responsibility does not fall on the shoulders of just the parents. It also falls on me, because I have allowed myself to minister in this way, where I am like the only youth minister in their life, and there's a lot of studies that kind of really support that. This is a great book that maybe we'll talk about sometime. Faith for Exiles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you are a numbers person, this one will blow you out of the water. With proven stuff. So
no, and I think you're right. It is easier. Like, I can teach you how to study, or I can just tell you what you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot easier for me to just tell you what I think you need to know. And we need to be better about training our people to really, what questions do you ask of a text? What questions do you ask of a passage of Scripture in order to really get to the root of what we're...
What's that old saying about fishing? Something about...
Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So
are we, have we become... This is not... has anything to do with summer, but have we become people who just feed people instead of teaching them how to feed themselves?
Yeah. And it does and it doesn't, because we're
weird.
We're in this place. How many people do you know that says, hey, I just want to go back to, when are we going to get back to normal?
That's good.
Yeah.
And
and that was the norm, right? The norm was, is that really what we want? Do I really just want to go sit in a pew, sit in a chair, and have somebody spoon feed me something that he thinks I need to know?
Mm-hmm.
Or, has something been revealed in us maybe that has brought to light some of our shortcomings, to where we've had to all, in one sense or another, be more responsible for our maturity. We've been given the tools, but we've had to have the discipline to implement those tools.
Yeah.
To show up on Sunday morning, when showing up means sitting in my living room.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, as things are starting to move back to the way they once were with gatherings, here restaurants are opening. The bars are opening, which means business is back, and a lot of people are back employed. Spend
that stimmy check.
That's right. Tailgates are already been announced. All the football stadiums are going to be at full capacity.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL has announced no restrictions in the fall. LSU has allowed us to open our tailgates again for the fall season. And this is months away, so we're starting to see a return of the things that we had lost.
Right.
And so the challenge becomes, how do we implement those things again, but in a way that's more healthy, spiritually and physically. I like what Bryce says here. He goes, we've invited others to help plan. They might have an incredible idea that we never would have thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been more people involved in so much of what goes on. And that's something that I need to continue to capitalize.
Well, and a different group of people too.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the great part is
that younger generation that thought they didn't have anything to offer to the church.
Right. They're like, hey, I have something to offer. I can do something. And that's something that's extremely important, right? So like that helps bridge that gap between stop laughing at my chair. That helps bridge that gap between like high school and moving on, and young adults in those phases where we're like, well, what are they doing? Well, we've been bottle feeding them. We're really focusing on like Hebrews and 1 Corinthians chapter 3, where Paul talks about you have been fed milk. You should be eating food, but you're not ready for it. You still need milk. Like you're spiritually weak. And, we have been bottle feeding some generations, and they need to be on meat, and we're mad that they're not doing these spiritual things. Why are they not leading in the church? Why are they not doing this? Because they haven't been given the opportunity, or B, they just don't know how. Like they just legitimately don't know, how do I do this? How do I get involved? How do I be this? And COVID kind of like opened up some of those doors, but this is you hit it right on the point. Like I actually hate it when people say, "Oh, and we're just gonna get back to the normal." And I think Jesus would hate that phrase. Like I think because Jesus isn't normal, right? Jesus is so countercultural, and so the idea that we have a norm, I think is a bad thing. Like the more I chew on it, the more I'm like, man, we shouldn't have a norm. Like we should have like, hey, this is kind of what you should expect in general, but I don't know how it's going to go down. But we should be able to be flexible. Have we lost sight on like what's really important? Or have we just become like complete traditionalists in a sense, and so this idea of like wanting to take everything and go back to the norm, for me, is a backward step in a lot of the forward thinking and the forward steps that we could do. Last point, then I'll switch to you. I'm passionate about this. Is that this this idea of like when COVID happened, for the first time, I think in a long time, a lot of church bodies sat there and they went, how do we reach our members and get them plugged in? Mm-hmm. And that had been like the first time that they had really, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, this is just Aaron's opinion, that we have put forth a real effort in saying we need to reach these people. We need to find, and we need to continue to do that. Like now we're like getting towards a post-COVID. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully way down there. I don't think it's right around the corner right yet, but we need to be forward thinking. How can we reach lost people in our community, in our neighborhood? Now let's not focus just on our members, but let's focus on reaching the lost as well. And I think to do that, we can't go back to normal.
Right. Well, and I think talking like that scares a lot of people.
Terrifies people.
It scares people.
Myself.
Because people are so comforted by the expected. Mm-hmm. And if we're coming in, and if you know anything about the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 8, and so much of my vision is in the future, and I really the desire to see several steps further than most people are comfortable seeing. And if I'm not aware of that, what it creates some distrust, because you take your vision so far into the future and you see what can be, and that is most people are capable of being able to process that. When they see that, they're like, oh no, we're just sticking with what we know, and they just recoil and pull back. And when you start talking about things like moving forward and progressing, they have assumed that to mean that they think that there's some great change at our core. It's like, we're not changing what's at our core, but can we change the way in which we deliver these things, the delivery system of the things that we know to be true? Is it possible that in a busy society, the church has done more to inflict more busyness on their people than they have to alleviate the stress of life? Not with bad things. I mean, these are good things, good programs, good ministries.
It's good food to eat. Like
stuffed.
like it's that idea of consumerism, right? And we are providing, like, it's like, we're reading a book called D Squared, and it talks about that idea of consumerism, of fast food. And it's like, hey, here's a healthy option. Would you like this really healthy steamed vegetables, wonderfully, like, no low salt food or whatever, like healthy food? Or do you want a burrito supreme from Taco Bell? Well, a burrito supreme sounds pretty good right now. Or a Crunch Wrap, because it's good to go. You remember those?
Right. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But somehow we have to. It is, and so somehow we have to. As ministers and as people who are, these vision casters, we have to adjust our language that allows people to see what can be as we move forward. Because when people say, I want to go back to normal, I think what they are thinking of is desirable.
Yeah.
They want the church filled with people again.
Right, yeah.
They want to take the ropes down. They want the singing to be at the volume and the wholeness that it once was. They want fellowship meals back. They want to be able to go to football games and sit in the stands. It's the community that they're really missing out on. They want to know that there's a church camp for their kids to go to this summer.
Right.
There's retreats that are available. And, maybe they don't, they want to stop wearing masks. And they want to do all of these things because
I want to hug someone.
I want to hug someone. These things all inhibit communication and interpersonal relationships. And so what they're really after is the good things that we're missing, but our language takes us to a place from where we've been. And we just fall right back into a rut. And we realized early on, and I think we continue to realize as things are beginning to be reinstated,
crazy,
that our previous way of doing things was really unhealthy.
Yeah.
And even though it was with good intentions and good motives, there was a lot of stress that we were placing as ministers and as church leaders on our people at the way we were doing some things. So
it reminds me of a little bit of like how, like, you can start a project, right? And you're like, this is the best way to do it. And then, like, you don't do it for 3 or 4 weeks. And then you get back to that project and you're like, what was I thinking? Like, I want the same goal, but this was dumb. Why did I do it this way? And so, maybe that's where we're at. Another thing that I have seen, have you ever, have you ever gone on a diet? Have you ever, Josh, I don't remember. Do you drink soda? You drink soda, don't you?
I do.
Okay. Well, then this might resonate with you and it might not. I don't know. So, like, our youth group used to do these interesting things. We would have competitions to see who could go the longest without soda. And so one year I went like a year and a half without soda. There came a time when like I was just like craving it. I just wanted it. I think a better example is like everyone knows I'm a Taco Bellaholic. Okay, my name's Aaron, and I'm a Taco Bellaholic. I love it. I could eat it once a week for the rest of my life. After 30, it got a little rough, but we're fine. We'll make it through. But I love Taco Bell, and like I will crave it if I don't have it for a while. So like summer, I usually don't get Taco Bell because we're traveling so much. Come home, have home cooked meals, all that kind of stuff, and it's good. My point, Aaron, what's your point? Like you're talking too much. My point is something that I've actually heard from people is like I just crave church. I crave youth group. Mm-hmm. I crave God's community. And so like one of the positive things that I've seen out of COVID is that, yeah, there are some people who I feel like we are struggling to reel them in, to say, hey, come back. But there are others who, like I've had a conversation with one of my neighbors who said, hey, where do you guys go to church? Because we have been locked up in this house for a year and we need to get out. So where do you guys go? It's like, we really need to get to a church kind of mentality. And that kind of excites me. It kind of like relights that passion. I know we've reached a critical state in America where we're below 40% as far as how many people consider themselves religious and attend a church somewhere, which is like the first time in our country's history. At some point, like I remember there were jokes like in the early 2000s, people were like, well, soon places like Africa and, Honduras are going to be sending missionaries to America to preach to the good news. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's funny. That's funny. And now I'm like, yeah, could you send someone? Like we need some help.
Well, and there's this, I guess we can talk about.
I'm all over the place.
I know. I'm looking at the notes going, man, where are we and where are we supposed to be? I do want to talk about this, and we'll come back to this
shirt.
People
That's
come
why.
back. Making plans for the summer.
Yes.
And wiggling in your chair. It is deafening over here. I was talking to Jared, at SoulQuest, and I'm like, Jared, I've got to take time off. Mm-hmm. We're in Louisiana. You're in York, Nebraska. That's a
little bit of a
to
difference.
Get up there.
A little drive.
Are we having SoulQuest this year? And he says we are cautiously optimistic. Like, cautiously optimistic.
What does that even mean?
So how do I make plans on cautious optimism? As well, we have a speaker planned, we have a song leader planned, we have a theme picked. We're planning as if it's going, but you never know how things can change.
Aaron's going.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure he said that. That's the most important thing.
That is the most important thing. But so much is that way, mm-hmm. right? And so Vacation Bible School, retreats, camps, all of these things are all moving forward with this cautious optimism, knowing that when the summer comes along and kids get out of school and beaches get packed and swimming pools get packed, there's always this chance that some government entity says, hey, we got to pull back again.
Right,
back
yeah.
Into a tailspin. And so for me going forward, I am making plans and I'm encouraging people to say, look, I'm going to do my best to make sure that we provide you the safest space possible for you to be in. If you are uncomfortable, let me know what it is about the space that it's in here that is uncomfortable, and if it is in my power, we'll make it right. Because what I want is that community back.
Yeah.
I want those people in our culture right now to feel comfortable with their family and friends at church. Mm-hmm. To know that, okay, well, I can't go do this, or this, but these are my people, And I know if I come here and there's something that I'm not comfortable with, all I got to do is speak up, and they've got my back. And so that's kind of the way I'm moving forward with some things, is just trying to leave this open system of communication that says, hey, if you need something, tell me. If there is something I can do to make this better, more comfortable for you, tell me. I'm here for you.
Right.
And just hope that people take advantage of it.
It is so hard, especially like as a youth minister, because you try to like get calendars out.
Right.
And it has been more frustrating than anything about like trying to get stuff on a calendar, trying to plan that kind of stuff. And it frustrates parents, which then frustrates you, and you want to plan stuff and you want to do, it's not like you don't want to do stuff. So it's just kind of like, it's just crazy. I'm tired of it. That's really what it is. I'm just kind of tired of it.
It is. So, it's tiring and it's taxing.
It is.
And kind of going back to what we were getting into a second ago was, will people come back? We started our in-person worship back in, I think it was
not the right
June.
song for that.
Right, June of 20.
Yeah, you guys were ahead of the curve.
And it was not very many people, but there were some that were ready, and we were kind of spaced out all over the place. And we were, I think our track record tells that, we did pretty well. We've had, I think only maybe 3 confirmed cases in our church.
Wow.
Of gatherers here. Because people were really responsible, and some people would have preferred they were more responsible with mask wearing and things like that. But as far as the space goes, and when people didn't feel right, they stayed home. When people weren't sure, they stayed home. And they really honored that request and had those tools at their disposal. And it worked really well for us. But we've seen an increase over the last 4 or 5 weeks of 5% of where we were March 16th of 2020. Here's the craziest thing about that. This last we were at 75% of where we were before in our attendance.
Right.
And I bet a third of those are people I did not know on March 16th of 2020.
Oh, yeah.
That it is, people from the community, people coming back, people who've moved in, churches in the area, that really a third of the people that are coming are new to this body.
Right.
And that's been something that it's been a real encouragement, for me to see that even in the midst of all this chaos, God still moves. God still moves. We've seen that take place, and it just kind of helps me get out of myself. And but I'm so focused on that count, right? How many people?
Right. Yeah.
Was it there? And our numbers are lower, but the singing has been so good over the last few weeks. And I think it's because people have been cooped up in their houses for so long. And it's like, oh, no, now I'm with people and I can sing, man. And I'm like,
yeah.
So you people could sing before.
Raise your hand if you actually sing with the songs at home.
It kind of reminds me, at the end of Elf when they're singing the Christmas Carol, and the old, the man there who's kind of been the Grinch, and he's kind of made a little turn. He's began to kind of like Buddy the Elf. They're trying to save Christmas, and all the people are singing, but the Christmas spirit isn't high. And goes, "You're not singing. You're just moving your lips." And so then he finally belts it out, and the Christmas spirit goes high, and the sleigh flies, and we save Christmas. But it's kind of like that's where we've been, right? That people just kind of been there, going through the motions, and now as you're seeing this gathering come back, there's just a renewed life. I gathering together. What have we learned about ourselves when it comes to this pandemic? For me, what I've learned is I learned it when I lost the community, the physical community.
Right.
I learned how valuable it was. The return of that physical community, I've really seen the value of what it is to gather, to see the faces of people, and to be present with my brothers and sisters in Christ. And I really do long for the day when all of those people who still for good reason may be at home, I long for the day when our world, our churches are safe to come back to us in full. And this will be awesome. It's going to be awesome when it comes.
I think what I learned was like the major part of it is that like one, I miss people. Like I miss those relationships. I miss those friendships. I miss the personal encounters. I learned that I don't want shallow or weak faith or weak communities. I learned definitely that I don't go to church out of habit. That I go to church, I go to a physical building, a physical church building, and gather with other Christians because it's something that I need and it's something that I want. That's something that I've learned about myself. Like it is something that I long for. I won't lie. Like I feel like I got to a place on Sundays where I just wanted to like get through it. You know, I was more excited about Wednesday nights and what I got to do Wednesday nights in youth ministry and other stuff. And then Sunday mornings were just kind of like, you know, hey, let's do it. You know, it's game day. Let's just get through it. Now, this sounds bad. This is not the way I want it to sound. But like I care less. And I go and I enjoy worship and I plug in and I try to talk with some teenagers. I try to talk with with their family members. I go to Bible class. I'm less worried about starting on time as much as developing those relationships and those friendships. I teach God's word, what I want to teach. If I end early, that'd be a surprise. As you all know, I'm pretty long-winded, but like, you know, then it's more about relationship building and talking about like the things that really matter opposed to, hey, I need to have this great cookie cutter program that's going to look great and it's going to be awesome. So I learned those things about me, like, because it was like, I don't know when I'm going to see you again. You could get COVID and you're out for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know, this could all be taken away from us and I might not see you guys again. I'm going to utilize the time that I have with y'all, you know, kind of that mindset. And so it's kind of been, I almost think of it this way. Like it's almost been like a forced sabbatical so that we can appreciate, something that we outrageously took for granted. But I've also learned that if we want to have some of these programs and stuff, like you got to come back. You got to come back and you got to be willing to put in the work and to help and to sacrifice and to be there. You know, that's a lot of it. So it's kind of interesting. But I feel like that's what I've learned about myself. And the other huge point that I think about is like that we've learned that we need to do some work. We need to do some work on how we train people and how I train people to study the Bible home by themselves. And if I give you the resources to do that, are we disciplined to do that? You know, are we really living up to spiritual disciplines, or do we just say, oh, they're nice? Yeah. You know, and I think that goes like, I think that tip of the iceberg appeared during COVID, but I think it's been a problem that we truly need to really think about. And I think that I have personally lost some of my spirituality and I have refound it through the sabbatical of COVID, because I have fasted and I have prayed more and I have meditated more on God's word because I didn't know what it was going to look like. You know what I mean? Like I had to go before the throne of God and said, I don't know what I'm doing. Show me the way.
Yeah.
This is the way.
Well, and it's unique for so many. Like it was not a sabbatical for me. It has not been a sabbatical for me.
Yeah.
I have
You're wrong, Aaron.
no, not wrong.
Just kidding.
You know, everybody's experience is so different. My workload tripled.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yes.
I really did not have the time or the energy to sit and process.
Yeah.
What it forced in the midst of that chaos was to do exactly what you said. It was the same response. It was just in the midst of a different experience. Is to just put my hands up and say, I can't do this. I cannot do this on my own. And the only way anything good is going to come out of what I am putting out is if I am trusting in the Spirit of God to lead and guide my thought and my heart,
Yeah.
my mind and my heart. And it's that point of to God's will and God's desire, not mine, that kind of brought me back of what we say all the time, right? It's not about you, and it's not about me. It really and truly is about the way the Spirit of God moves into, and I am just an avenue through which God's power is at work, and God's word. I also learned about myself is that I can recognize things that need to change, but the moment that change gets difficult, I will try like the Dickens to just get back to the easy road that was
I know.
and familiar.
What did Jesus say about a dog returning to its vomit?
Yeah,
I don't like it when these passages apply to me.
I know, it's brutal. And so just having the perseverance to do the difficult work, and getting to the place on the other side. Do you have a behind?
I think the behind the beards moment for me is I don't even know. Like, what's something that should be revealed? I guess patience is still required. Be patient with your church leaders. As you are trying to figure things out, like we're trying to figure things out still. I know some churches are having debates whether or not, hey, should we go back to one service or two services or three services? Do we cancel one? Now that we have space, can we all move back into one? Mm-hmm. Are we thinking about growth, or are we thinking about what we want, kind of an idea? Those are hard decisions to make, and those are decisions that are being made kind of right now in those areas. And so, I would say we need more prayer. We need more prayer. We need more spiritual guidance from God. And we need, we need to just love one another, right? Like that's the big one. Yeah. Like we need to just love one another. We need to remember that we all want the same thing, right? Which is to go to heaven. And that's what's important. And we need to remember that. And we need to remember about the grace and the love. And we need to remember what kind of Savior Jesus was, that he died on a cross, kind of that idea. And that's who we serve. And I think it's easy for us to lose sight of that. It's easy for our passions to take over if we're passionate about something. And so, I don't know. That's a lot of rambling, but
no, it is. And I go back to
it is a lot of rambling.
I mean, it is, but there's a through it, Mm-hmm. And our minds back to the beginning of what we talked about with planning for the summer. It is talk to your people.
Yeah.
If there is something you need, I can't plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
If you show up somewhere and something makes you uncomfortable, let us know.
Yeah.
We might not be able to do anything about it, but if that concern is never expressed, we can never address it.
Yeah.
Because even though we are doing our best, there are going to be some things that we overlook.
Yeah.
There are some things that when we kind of came back in person, there was this question of are we require masks. The government didn't mandate it in churches. In fact, they is from all states.
Mm-hmm.
I came in and I said, hey, we're going to encourage you to follow the mandates provided by the governor and the CDC. And we should require it. It's like, the thing is, if you require it, then you have to turn people away who aren't willing to follow that. I'm not really willing to be the person that says, nope, I'm sorry, you can't come to church. And so we're going to put this on the people and implore them to adhere to the gospel that Jesus says to love one another, like you mentioned before, and to live in community with one another.
Preach it.
Some people thought that was too harsh. Some people thought it wasn't harsh enough. And so lines and find that balance. That's what it is that you need.
Absolutely.
And that's the just talking to one another, not at or through or over, but actually speaking to one another in love, knowing that, just like you said, we've all got the same goal. Well,
and that's how the cookie crumbles.
That's right.
I mean, that's truly what it is.
Yeah.
We want to thank you guys all for being here today. We want to remind you of something that's extremely important to Josh and I. It's extremely important to a lot of people, and that's God's word. Galatians 6:9, do not grow weary in doing good. It plays in exactly what Josh and I were just talking about what's truly important, right? And when we take that time and we take a deep breath and we pause ourselves and we remind ourselves that I need to do good, and I not only do I need to do good, but I need to allow Christ to use me to do something different, something good in his name, then we see the world through a different lens. And when we are living a life that we are trying to evangelize and reach others with God's love, we can put things into perspective. I'm Aaron. This is Josh, and we will see you guys next week on Behind the Beards.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.